Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. If you're a business owner and you want to increase your cash flow, or if you're a label or artist and you want to promote new music, then listen up. For information about advertising on Everyone Loves Guitar, including information on geographically targeted ads, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. The Be Fulfilled Journal helps you be more honest with yourself and with others and be more open to handling things you've avoided dealing with for years. It's a 12-week online and journal program that helps you identify and eliminate things you do that are causing you stress and live in more gratitude and joy. It was actually developed by a long-term friend of mine who got sober in 2008, and he's put together a great deal just for my listeners. You get the 300-page hardcover journal and access to the 12-week video program online, plus free shipping, plus membership in a private Facebook support group with others going through the program, plus a 5-day mini course showing you how to let go of stuff that's draining your energy, plus a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. To start your journey and get all the bonuses, go to BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. That's BeFulfilledJournal.com/ELG. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Man, I've got a really cool guest today. I'm with Kevin Armstrong out of the UK. And I want to just give a quick shout out and say thank you to Anto Drennan for connecting me and Kevin. So Kevin is the guitarist you may never have heard of, but you most certainly have heard. He's had an amazing career since the early 80s as a sideman for David Bowie, or as he probably says, David Bowie, Iggy Pop, right? Is that what you say, Bowie?
No, I say Bowie.
Do you really? My wife still calls him Bowie. Yes. Iggy Pop, who he's currently out with still, Morrissey, Sinead O'Connor, Prefab Sprout, Thomas Dolby, and a host of others. He was a member of Tin Machine, and he's written songs covered by both Bowie and Morrissey. He's played with just a ton of people, including Peter Murphy, which is what a great artist that guy is. What a voice. Songwriter. 9 Inch Nails. It's Sia, correct?
Yeah, Sia.
Yeah. Mick Jagger, Roy Orbison, Brian Eno, Paul McCartney, Sandy Shaw, the Eagles of Death Metal, Gil Evans, Alien Sex Fiends, and more. Like I said, he's currently touring the world with Iggy Pop. He just got back from Australia, and he's the music director of that band. He just released an amazing, really cool solo album called Run in March of this year, and we'll talk more specifically about that. Kevin, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Hi, Craig. It's good to be with you.
And it's a holiday there, too, so thank you, man. He's interrupting his holiday to talk to me.
I never know the difference between a holiday and a normal day, man. I really don't. People have to remind me.
I hear you, man. You've had a very long and successful career as a sideman, but you've also worked with some really big artists at the same time as being a sideman. What are like the 2 or 3 traits you have in particular that you feel have allowed you to have such a long-lasting, healthy, and robust career?
Oh, I don't know. That's for others to talk about, isn't it? I mean, it's a difficult question. People do ask me, what do you need? What traits do you need for a long career in music? Sandy Shaw once said to me, you have to learn how to experience humiliation. And I never really understood what she meant. But there are a few occasions on which that does happen, so you lose a job inexplicably, a kind of lottery-winning, fantastic gig, right. And you might get dropped from it without warning or without notice. And, you question everything. So I think sort of resilience really is a good one, just not to be discouraged by failure. Like anything else, anybody who succeeds at anything, they've kind of failed too. And that part of how you deal with that equips you for carrying on. And I don't know, I guess musically I might have the chameleon-like ability to fit in or understand what people want musically, to be able to contribute something useful to a situation musically, I hope.
But what about personal? What do you think people hiring you for personally, not outside of the music? And obviously, you're a great sideman and you can adapt to any situation. But what's like, you know, if they're lining up 6 people or whatever, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, you know, Kevin's this. I like that."
Oh, God, I don't know. I think I know. I think I have a good sense of humor. I can roll with the punches. I can make people laugh. I am a people person now. Maybe I wasn't when I was younger a little, but I'm much more that way now. I take care of people. So I often get put in charge of situations or people, you know, when it's actually my call to hire or fire or whatever. And that's a really important, or a situation of being a band leader. And it's really important to learn, I think, in those situations that, you know, it's better to listen than to talk sometimes.
Yeah, well, you got 2 ears, 1 mouth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just always be ready to support people. Just care for those around you. And I think I've developed that over the years. I hope a little. And I don't know. I'm a confident kind of guy as well. I will always step up and say, "Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, we can do that." And I solve problems. I get things done. I turn up on time. I smell good.
You do smell good, Kevin. Let me ask this: what changed? You said that you weren't necessarily good with people when you were younger. What changed, and what was the trigger for that change?
That's a good question. Again, I think it's a failure. It's a sort of, you can ride a wave of confidence early in your career. If you get a few really good gigs and you do well, you can start, your head can start to run away with you. Again, as a young man on the road, you're a VIP, you're getting the same kind of vague treatment as the star, without any of the responsibility and lots of opportunity for, ill behavior. And that's all cool. But you can turn into a bit of an arsehole, really. And I think that a lot of people do. And I think I definitely was prone to that in my younger days. And I think at a certain point you get a smack in the chops psychologically, like you get dropped from something, or someone tells you straight, you're being an arsehole or something. And then if you're any good as a human being at all at that point, you look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Go, hey, what can I shouldn't have done that. I wronged this person, or I didn't behave well then. I have to modify this. And so it's a process of learning, isn't it? Hopefully you grow up a little if you still want to be around people and do what you love.
It's funny. When I interviewed Steve Vai, he said like the exact same thing. He said his words are because I was a real prick. Yeah. And he said my ego got the best of me, and
it can happen. Yeah, I don't think I was seriously horrible to people, but there was definitely an element, when I was younger, that whole thing of young men competing with each other and fighting up against each other, just doing this and with the horns and just back. And once you drop that, when you get a little older, it's so nice to drop it all, and not have that, just care for each other. And I have very concrete examples of that in my life. For instance, playing for Iggy Pop, that's been a 2-episode thing in my life. First time was in 86 to 88. And the second time was 2015 to now. And they're like chalk and cheese. And there's a particular relationships in that camp which were, wrong the first time round and are now right.
That's cool.
Just because all of us learn a little bit about how to behave better when we're old.
That's got to be like satisfying when you're out on the road and you can look back and see like your own personal growth in a similar situation.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, pitfalls still exist and people still fuck up and people still go off rails. But I was writing about this in my book a while ago, and I think that there's also been a kind of societal change where men are more open with each other now than they were, and they're more prepared to cry. Cries and tears and hugs are not just for girls, and you can support your friends if they fuck up, and you can help people. And I think that the absence of that maybe in my early life has made me really conscious of that now. If I have to support a younger musician who's having a problem, then that's, I can see now because of my own experience how that might be, that might have a much better outcome than it would have done 30 years ago.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. It's a lot less stressful when you can I find it a lot, because I was rough as a kid as well. It's a lot less stressful when you can just like be relaxed about how you're feeling, sort of, you know?
Well, I think so. And people will not always get on with each other, and people are not always the same as each other. So you still have personalities which are not necessarily compatible straight away with each other in those working situations. But when people get older, they make allowances for that. They say, I know what you are, you know what I am. We're never going to be best of mates, but we will support each other in this situation.
Yeah.
We'll put those differences aside and we'll make a real effort. And that really makes a difference, you know. And I think I'm able to do that.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to let's talk about some of these folks that you've worked for. Talk about how you got the gig, and if you got a cool or interesting story about working with them. Let's start with David Bowie.
Well, with Bowie, it's a story that I was a solo artist with EMI, and I had a deal in the mid-'80s. I had a band called Bush Telegraph for a while, which was part of a solo deal, and it was going to be a big deal. It had the lawyer, and it had the manager, and it had the all the equipment, and it had the marketing department, and it had the whole razzmatazz that went with having a record deal in the mid-'80s. And it came crashing down really quickly in the kind of purge where record companies go, well, this band isn't making it yet, so we'll just axe them, you know, and things just the red and gets put through you. And once that had happened, that was like a trap door falling out of my world, where I had to sell the equipment, sack the band, get rid of the lawyer, and all that rest of it overnight. Yeah. But there was one guy, EMI, he just died this year. He was an A&R man called Hugh Stanley Clark, who had a really good reputation in the industry. And he called me, a couple of weeks after this trapdoor moment in my career, and said, listen, there's somebody important coming to London, and they need a guitar player, and you just take your guitar along to Abbey Road, and you can thank me later.
That was that.
And that was that. And I turned up Abbey Road, and there was Neil Conti from Prefab Sprout was there, the drummer, a guy from Rugulator, Nick Plytus, and a bass player, I think it was Matthew Seligman, who was the bass player, yeah. And we turned up at Abbey Road, and all of us were chatting about who is this going to be, who's going to come through the door. And literally, we didn't know. So we really didn't know. So then Bowie walked in. He was obviously on our list somewhere, but we never. But he walked in, hi, I'm David, which is information we didn't really need. And it was great. So everything about the sort of step up of my whole musical life happened on that one day, really, because he's a person who, once you work with him, it's a golden opportunity, isn't it? It opens so many doors, and you get much more out of it than you put into it. And that was a life-changing day.
Had you played at Abbey Road before, even?
No, I don't think I had. I think I may have visited a friend who was doing a session there or something, but I hadn't been in the building before. No, we were upstairs in a small demo studio, not the big Studio 2 where the Beatles were and everything. It was just a little room upstairs, and that was where we worked.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So any cool Bowie stories?
Well, yeah, there are Bowie stories. I mean, there's one particular scurrilous one which is it's been in Paul Trinker's book, but it's like it was a day he did ask me to score coke for him. First day I met him.
First day you met him.
That day.
Oh my God! Baptism by fire.
He just whispered in my, "Can you get me some coke?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll just make a phone call or something." So I thought I better help him out, So I made a call to a friend in London and said, "Oh, get some coke and send it here."
That's
wild. And then there wasn't even mobile phones then. It was like a payphone or something in the hall. And I called him back. He said, "Yeah, it's on the way." He said, "You'll never guess where I got it." I said, "No." He said, "I got it off Angie Bowie." And I said, "You'll never guess who it's for."
Oh my God.
David Bowie.
That's too nutty, man.
And then it gets worse because I actually said to him, "Oh, you'll never guess where this came from."
Oh my God. Bowie. And what did he say? He didn't know, probably.
He said, "Fucking hell, that witch! You didn't say anything, did you?"
Oh my God.
Said, "Oh, no. And that was it. That was the first, last, and only time there's ever been any drug story around me and David Bowie.
That's hilarious. What? Yeah. How long did you play with him for?
Well, over a period of I suppose 10 years or just under. But in bits and pieces, it wasn't continuous by any means. Obviously, it was just episodic. I did the Absolute Beginners sessions with him. It was the first thing we did, and then I did Live Aid.
Right. Okay, so you know Mark Platty, probably.
No, I don't. I know who he is.
Okay.
I've never met Mark Platty.
Okay.
I've never met him. I did the Live Aid concert, the original one in 1985.
Okay.
With Bowie, I helped him put that together.
Okay. Wow, what a story, man! That's wild.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop.
Yeah, Iggy Pop was a natural consequence of working with Bowie. So it was like a year later or something. I mean, I did Live Aid with Bowie, and then it went quiet from him completely until such time as I was actually. I think I was producing an Alien Sex Fiend album in Wales, and I got a call direct from Bowie saying, "I'm making an album with Iggy Pop in Switzerland. Get on a plane, come and play some guitar."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's like I say, it leads on, and I think it was just I still think about it, and I wonder why. Because when it comes down to musicians who've played with Bowie, I don't rank particularly high on a sort of technical level or anything. I mean, I'm okay. I can hold my own. But he's had some incredible, outstanding guitar players who I wouldn't be fit to lick their boots, But something about the way we worked together made him choose me for other things, which was really nice. And I never will be able to thank him enough for that faith, really. That was really nice, for him to offer me the opportunities that he did.
But I think in music, it's usually not based, with rare exception, where the whole band's thing is, hey, we're a real technical. I mean, look at Pink Floyd, great musicians, but with the exception of Gilmour. But I mean, there's plenty of guitarists. Gilmour's my favorite guitarist ever. But there's plenty of guitarists who, if you're looking for something different, can play faster, whatever.
I'm aware there's that whole spectrum of value when it comes to music and technique. I don't mean that. I guess I just mean I never considered myself in a way good enough. I just thought, why does he pick me when he could have this or this? And but it was something about the way we worked together on the very first day, I think, which cemented some sort of relationship. And it possibly was the fact that I helped him to finish the song Absolute Beginners, which he had a fragment of, and he did the whole thing. And there was half an hour on the clock of the session or something, and he said, "Well, I don't know what we're going to do. I've got this thing that's not finished." And I said, "What do you got?" And we just literally kicked it around on a couple of guitars, and I said, "Well, if you double this part, or if you make this part 2 bars longer, or whatever, you've got a structure here." And then we just knocked it together like that as a piece of music. And I think it was possibly that made him think, "Oh, this guy's got something."
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So did you get a co-write on that? I don't mean to push it.
No, I didn't. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't get a right, and I didn't deserve one, really. I mean, he'd written. Yeah. I said, "Well, you finished this." He said, "Well, I haven't finished it." And I said, "Oh, yeah, you have. Look at this." And it was just that. So I don't know. It would warrant a co-write in some situations, but not on the first day you meet a jobbing guitar player. That just would have a flag for him to say, "Oh, maybe we can work together again or something."
Yeah. That's the typical session. Session man paradox.
There was no rancor about that situation. I was very happy to contribute what I could to that.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. Man, how about Peter Murphy? Well, actually, give me an Iggy story first, man. You got to have. I'm not looking for gossip, just fun.
No, it's okay. I mean, as I say, I'm writing a book with all the scurrilous stories. But the first time I met Iggy was with Bowie in Montreux, in Mountain Studios in Montreux, which is where he did a lot of work, and Queen did a lot of work as well. I think Bowie was living in Lausanne at the time, and he and Iggy had been hanging out, at his house, and he was obviously the executive producer of that record. There was no label involved at that point, so it was Bowie's project to help Iggy make that record. And so he introduced me on the first day. I met Iggy, and then we went out, just me and him, and a case of beers on a boat on Lake Geneva, on a rowing boat, just to get to know each other. It was really weird, let's go and get a boat. So we got a boat and a case of beer and went round the chateau, where Byron used to hang out and things, and Iggy was telling me about that. and we were talking about Ann Arbor, and because I'd married a girl when I was 18 in London, who was a little older than me, and she came directly out of the White Panther Ann Arbor scene. She was American.
Oh my God!
So
That's
I knew
wild.
something about, you know, the MC5 and that whole scene, and we had that in common to talk about, and it was nice.
That's wild,
Yeah.
man. Imagine if Iggy would have said, "Hey Kevin, can you get me some Coke?" You'd have been like, "Holy shit, this is."
Yeah, no, he never did that.
Oh my God.
I think I met both of those guys when they were at the very end of any relationship they'd had with stimulants of any kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, both of them. I worked with Iggy when he was 40, and I worked with Bowie when he was. You know, both of them. I experienced their 40th birthdays with them.
That's cool. That's so wild, though. How random is that? That your ex was from Michigan, where he was.
Michigan, yeah.
That's really wild.
No.
Peter Murphy, man, that guy always really something about his writing and his voice is just so hypnotic, you know?
Well, I'm going to disappoint you with Peter Murphy stories because it's such a blank in my memory. I just didn't really have a relationship with him. I mean, I was hired to go and play on a record of his in Spain at El Cortijo, which is a castle in the south of Spain, you know, a studio place. And so I have a vague memory of arriving and being taken by Trevor Moraes, the drummer, who was managing the studio, to the place and hanging out for a few days, making overdubs with a producer. I can't even remember who was producing it, meeting Peter on a couple of occasions while he was there. He might have stuck his head round the door. So we never, anything like that. So I don't really know him, you know, I don't think he remember anything.
How about Paul McCartney?
Yeah. Well, there was a TV show in England called The Last Resort, and it was on Channel 4 here, and it was modelled directly on the Letterman show.
Okay.
So it had a live band. A musical director was Steve Naive, who from the Attractions, Elvis Costello's band. Mm-hmm. The drummer was from the Attractions also, and there was a bass player, Steve Lawrence, who lives in LA now, and myself. And we were hired to play absolutely live, broadcast live, not recorded. It was all live with the guest of the day on the whole scene. So they'd have chat show guests on and then a musical guest, and then we'd play. So that's when we got to play with Roy Orbison and, you know, Ronnie Wood and you know, Was Not Was and Mark Armand. Lots of people came on. And McCartney was the last guest on the run of the series I did. So he came on and he hung with us the whole day from the morning until the show. And it was quite a late night show. So we'd run it, obviously, during the day. We'd keep running rehearsals and things. So he came and played with us all day, really enjoyed it. And the show went really well. And I think it was his first live TV in 20 years at that point.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big thing for him. And then I got a call the following week to ask me to drop everything and go and be his guitar player.
Holy shit.
So I said yes. I mean, I was a big fan, but it didn't really work out for me, Craig, because, again, it was like a thing where maybe the folly of youth or whatever, but I just didn't connect with him on a personal level somehow. I went and I did some of the sessions at Hog Hill Mill, which is very near where I live now on the south coast. It's in Peasmarsh, down the road from where I am now. It's in an old windmill, and that's his studio. And it was an amazing experience. The whole thing with working with him was an amazing experience. But it didn't work out for me. He did something really strange, which is he kind of, out of one set, the sessions were with Elvis Costello co-producing. He was writing songs with Elvis Costello. The album I'm talking about is Flowers in the Dirt.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's got a couple of Elvis songs on it. And I think it went through various hands as producer. It went through Steve Lipson, and it went through, you know, Stuart Levine. I don't know. Different people tried producing it, and I think with different approaches. And I was there during Elvis Costello's go at it, and where he had the band thumping on suitcases and singing round one microphone like Beatles style. He was trying to recreate Revolver or something as a set Elvis. And I don't think McCartney was going with that idea.
Yeah.
So that some of those recordings didn't end up on the final thing. They ended up going through another phase of production with someone else, whatever. But also, I got dropped during a break in recording. I just got a phone call saying, Paul thanks you, but you're no longer required, and here's some 3 weeks' pay or something, and which was good money.
Yeah, I'm sure it was great money.
But when I got the gig, I was assured it was going to be a year's work with the private planes and touring and everything else.
Wow.
So I'd done something wrong, and I never really found out what it was until some years later. I ran into Elvis Costello again, and I said, I never really found out why I got because I thought I was holding my end up musically. He said, oh, you came in one day and you said, oh, we saw the Ruttles on TV last night. It was really good, wasn't it? And did you know what the Ruttles is?
They were like the spoof of the Beatles, right?
It's a spoof of the Beatles, and George Harrison backed it, and it's Eric Idle and
from
Neil Innes.
Monty Python. Yeah.
And Neil Innes from Bon Dog. It's great, but I mentioned it in the presence, and apparently that was enough for him to sack me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And there was an incident while we were in the studio as well, which was like a weird thing where he called me. One of his guys came and said, "Oh, Paul's upstairs. He wants to see you," kind of thing. So, okay. So I went upstairs during the session one afternoon, and he was on the phone, and I was looking around the studio, and there's this like double bass there with like gold double bass with white edging, and I'm picking it up and trying it, and he gets off the phone. He says, "Oh, you like that bass?" I said, "Well, I said it looks familiar." I said, "Yeah, it's Bill Black's bass from 1956."
Holy.
So I sort of. He said, so why'd you call me up here? He said, "Oh, I just wanted to smoke this with you." So he sat down on a couch opposite me and handed me a joint. Right. So he takes a talk. So I, to be polite, and I hadn't smoked anything for months,
right.
years, and I took a lug on this spliff he'd give me, and then I just lost all sense of time and place and everything else, and my tongue.
But that's what happens when you.
Well, exactly.
Smoke weed and you're not smoking every day.
But he stood up and he said, "And that's you stoned." And then he turned around and walked out.
So the whole thing was just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was weird. And
experience.
I still don't know what was he looking for. Was he trying to scope me out as a smoking buddy? Was he just trying to put me in my place and saying you can't take the shit I smoke kind of thing? I don't know, but I'll never know. But it was like it was just the kind of.
So the whole thing was just. Kind of bizarre.
It was odd. It was. I never felt really relaxed around him in a way. Around Bowie or Iggy, I can just be myself.
Yeah.
But I never felt that around McCartney. I just always felt that you had to be somehow watch your back and not say things. And I don't know. I just didn't know.
Man.
Couldn't get it.
Wow. That is kind of like creepy weird almost. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, come here. It's just the fact that like you didn't really know him well, and like if someone just comes over and says, "Hey man, let's sit alone in a room and smoke a joint," it's just that's weird. Like
that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you're the young guy or the guy, he's your Uber employer,
absolutely.
And you should have said, "Look, if you ask me to get some Coke, I'll do it, but I'm not going to smoke this joint."
Yeah, and I'll buy it off Linda.
Oh my God. Wow. That's wild, man. Thank you for sharing. That was really interesting. Wow. And then, Morrissey, another incredibly talented dude, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, great music. Again, a person, a sort of unique character, isn't he? I was a Smiths fan, definitely, from the point of view of the songwriting, the whole kind of unique approach lyrically. Johnny Marr's unbelievably great, innovative guitar playing, and
incredible.
And that just made my ears go pink straight away. It was great. And I think I was asked to join the Smiths at one point after the Johnny Marr left the Smiths.
Right.
There was a moment at which I got a call because of my association with Bowie, I guess, and my reputation in the business. Someone had said, "Oh, this guy's your guy," So I got a call to go and meet him at Rough Trade.
That's a studio?
No, it was the label Smiths were on.
Okay.
So it was in a little office in King's Cross in London. So I just went down there to meet him, have a cup of tea with him, And he said, I want you to join the Smiths. And I said, I can't join the Smiths because the Smiths ain't a thing without you and Johnny Marr.
Yeah.
You know, whoever you get, it's not going to be the same, is it? It's just people aren't going to get it, you know. So
that was pretty very kind of cool of you to do that. I don't know if he saw it the same way, but that was a very intense period of my career. I had lots of opportunities. I've been working with Sprout, with Bowie, with all these people, and I kind of was quite full of confidence in terms of what I could say yes to and what I could say no to at that point. And I wasn't thinking, oh, I've got to grab every opportunity that's given to me because, you know, these things are temporary and they'll slip away or whatever. I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking, really, what do I think about this? And I thought, you know, it's not a pop gig. It's not just a money gig. It's an artistic. That's a totally fucking, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's an important creative thing. So I said to him, I just felt being honest, that can't be the Smiths, what you're asking me to do. But then he phoned, I got a call again from Clive Langer some months later saying, Morrissey's doing some solo stuff. You know, do you want to come and play on that? It must have been a good year later because he already had the first Morrissey album had come out, and what I was asked to work on was going to be his second solo album.
So he must have really respected your comment the year prior.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he had to. If he thought anything ill of it, he wouldn't have called you for another go. You know.
No, I know. That's true.
That's really good.
Yeah, so I did play on what was going to be his second album, but sort of petered out halfway through, and it came out as a thing called Boner Drag, and that's got some original songs on it, some of mine, some of his, some of Andy Rourke, and then it's got some rehashed releases from his first album on it. So it was like a sort of retrospective. It was weird. It didn't turn into a full album somehow.
It was like an EP plus.
Well, it definitely was an album, but it was packaged with some of his earlier tracks as re-releases, and it's had a couple of releases since. But it was the time of a single called Ouija Board, and November Spawned a Monster, and Piccadilly Polare, and they were all on it.
That's really cool.
But it was an interesting thing to do because I did get the opportunity to write with Morrissey fully in the way that I assumed Johnny Marr had written with him, which was to present him with almost completed guitar instrumentals, which is what Johnny Marr's work sounded like to me. You know what I mean? In other words, it didn't have a melody or a top line in mind. It had to be a fully realized structural guitar piece, you know, and melodically integral on its own. And a lot of Johnny Marr's work is like that. If you strip the vocals off, they're beautiful instruments.
Oh, it's incredible, yeah. Are you on the ocean? I hear birds, gulls.
No, you hear gulls because, I'm near the sea. Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you live near Jim Cregan?
I think you asked me this before. I'm in Hastings. So, no, I did contact Jim Cregan. He's about 100 miles down the coast.
Oh, you know me, it's south of England. I'm like, oh, it must be near. There's only one. It's like, do you know Simon? You know,
it's quite a long coast. But I'm in a place called Hastings. Yeah, I'm in Hastings. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm about 10 minutes walk from the sea.
I hear the seagulls, man. This sounds cool.
Birds, yeah.
Jim, this idiot in America, thinks that the English Ocean is 4 miles wide.
But we got a call when I was with Thomas Dolby in Belgium making the Flat Earth. We got a call from Michael Jackson in the studio once, and he asked Thomas Dolby, could he pop to Tibet to get some pampas grass for his llamas or something? Because he thought it was round the corner, you know.
Of course. Hey, I spoke. Well, Lucas said he was working on Michael Jackson's album. I said, "What was the weirdest thing?" He goes, "He was walking around with Bubbles, the chimp, petting him the whole time."
Who is this you're talking about?
Lukather.
Who is this you?
Michael Jackson.
No, but who were you talking to?
Steve Lukather. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And he said he was walking around with Bubbles because I said, "What was you have any?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I couldn't get over that. You don't see a guy walking around with a monkey all day, and it was just like very out of context. I'm like, holy shit. Wow. Thank you, man. Those are some really cool stories. This is a tough question. Top 3 musical experiences you've had. Just go with your knee jerk reaction. Could be live, studio, whatever, for whatever reason,
Okay. Well, there was, I think, I Can't Read, which is a track on a Tin Machine first album, where we recorded it after a tropical rainstorm in a Compass Point Studios in Nassau, and it was a live take, and it was a beautiful moment. It was just like something, wow, that band's really matured at that point somehow. If you listen to that tune, I Can't Read, it's really great, and it was really great to be a part of that. Oh God, there's so many.
Yeah, it's a tough question.
It is a tough question. I suppose playing the intro to the Passenger in front of a big Iggy crowd, a crowd of tens of thousands, and you start up playing a song like that, or if it falls to you to play a famous intro of a song that which you buzzed you as a kid, and you're just playing it. So Rebel at Wembley I played, and just to know that the kind of shoes you're standing in at that moment.
That's really cool.
Standing in Mick Ronson's shoes in front of 74,000 people, and there's Bowie about to sing over my intro. That's brilliant.
People go nuts. People are going nuts. Completely.
People go nuts. Yeah. I used to play with Sinead O'Connor for a little bit, and used to play Nothing Compares to You. And the minute you start playing solo guitar, you start playing the chord sequence, the crowd just goes, the roof lifts off the place. It's so amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what would be number 3?
Oh. I don't know. I mean, you have some musical moments which can be playing with a pickup funk band of your mates in a club at 3 a.m, and things can just fire off in such a way you just think, I'll never play anything better than this, and things like that can happen. So it's got nothing to do with big time stuff. It can be just a musical feeling which you think, oh man, this is what I live for.
That's really cool, man. All right, I want to talk about your new record, Run. First of all, I genuinely really liked it. So I got a bunch of questions for you. First question is kind of weird, but what's this thing with faces? Like you always, and I was shocked you didn't have sunglasses on here, because I've always, all your pictures, you've got like your.
I read your little thing about, questions you might ask me, and this one slightly puzzled me because I don't consciously cover up my face. It's not a thing for me, and yet I can see how you might pick that up from the photographs or whatever.
And the video too. You have a great video.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like that video.
Oh, it's awesome, man! And like you have the horns, but your face is covered up. And then, like I think on your Facebook page, it's like it ends here.
Oh well, the Facebook page is a mistake. It's not something I designed. It's just my incompetence at technology that does that. The video it's in 2 phases. There are shots of me that without the makeup on, but the guy had an idea to cover my face in gold leaf.
Yeah,
and that's what he did. So it was just a series of photographs he'd done with someone else, and I saw them when I was looking at his work, and I said, I like that. And he said, yeah, we could do that for your video. And I just liked the idea a lot. So we just did it. And it wasn't a thing about covering up my face. I don't have any people seeing my face. I mean, obviously I'm one of those, late middle-aged guys with glasses and no hair. And I look like a potato.
I think you look great.
Well, okay.
Because we look identical.
But there's an archetype of person who looks like me, and that white gentleman of a certain age, we kind of just end up looking like this. Yeah. And so sometimes I'll wear a pair of cool shades or a little hat or something like that, but I don't, it's not a thing where I try and disguise myself. It's just whatever I feel comfortable in at the time.
Do you usually sing background vocals? Because your voice was great, man. I was really blown away.
Yeah, no, I've always been a singer.
Yeah.
I was a for anything really, and so I do always sing backgrounds, and yes, I have been in many situations where I sing harmony. I've got very good harmony. I love to sing with others. Yeah, definitely.
And it's interesting. I heard your accent, which is uncommon. Usually, you hear Brits sing, you can't hear the accent, but I heard your accent for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, really glad you say that, because it's very easy to slip into a rock and roll American kind of twang, but and I don't consciously think about it, but again, I think I might have grown into living with that better than I used to.
Yeah.
So I like hearing people's accents when they sing.
It was really cool. It was just interesting. It was like it reminded me of how hearing your accent reminded me of how I never hear almost anyone's accent that's from the UK.
I think the only thing that's important with accents when you sing, in a way, is it musical?
That was great. That wasn't a concern. That wasn't a consideration. Yeah,
well,
that's
it. If it sounds right, then it should be your own voice.
Yeah.
If something, I think everybody modifies the way they sound when they sing to be more musical in a way. But I'm quite happy that if my accent comes through, if it's an English accent that comes through, then I'm very happy about that. Because
it sounded great.
So many English singers just immediately fall into sounding American.
No, it sounded great, man. It was nice to hear an English accent.
Yeah.
Lyrically, the music, it's a bit of a dark record. And I like that. I tend to be attracted to that musically, especially when the music itself isn't dark. I found the music was very optimistic, with dark lyrics. And I was curious, is there anything like specific driving the lyrics?
I don't know if you can see, but there's a sort of theme that's emerged through that writing and through the artwork on the record as well. I mean, the front cover of that record is 2 drawings of anatomical skulls.
Right.
Now, that's not a heavy metal presentation of a skull, is it? It's an anatomical, clearly, and one of them was drawn by my 14-year-old son, and the other one was the homework he was given to copy.
Oh, that's cool.
And literally, they were just lying on a table, and I photographed them with my phone. And then I looked at the photo, and I thought, hey, that's a great cover.
Oh, your kid was probably stoked that you're.
No, he was like, oh, he's typically English. Oh, I don't care about that. But and then on the back cover, when I picked a photo at random from a session I did with Paul McAlpine in 29 Palms when we were visiting Joshua Tree, I'm wearing a shirt. It's a proper Scully Western shirt, like a nudie suit shirt, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a skull on each breast.
That's right.
And I didn't notice that, and then I thought, and then some of the lyrics in the songs that I chose for this collection, many of them reference the loss of my brother. When I was in 1979, he was 20 and I was 9. He was 20. I was 21 and he was 20, and he died very suddenly in a motorcycle accident, and that his loss has informed it's somewhere in the writing always. And so the 2 skulls on the front are really him and me, and and the skulls and those sort of images, they kind of they weren't a real conscious choice, but they definitely are there in the thing, and I'm happy that they are. It's fine. So it is a dark record in that some of the lyrics are quite confessional, and some of them allude to all sorts of relationships and stuff like that. So it doesn't scare me to do that. I like to do that. I mean, I love Beck's work, the more introspective albums of his, Mutations and Sea Change are my favorite work of his.
Sea Change is great, yeah.
Lovely records. And so I don't mind that. And the way you say the music is optimistic, I'm glad you say that. I'm glad you say that. That's great.
Yeah, well, it's not dark music at all. It's very melodic. It's like a contrapuntal to the lyrics in a way, but you're not thinking about that. It's just good music,
Thank you.
But the lyrics were, meaningful, intense. Sorry about your brother, man. I'm really sorry about that.
It's a long time ago, but these things in cycles, and they do come back. They're things you always live with,
of course,
and they're things that do come out in work,
Of course.
So, in fact, I went to see my father about a couple of weeks ago. He's 86, and he gave me a bunch of letters and photographs, which old parents do. They'll just say, "Oh, I want you to have these things." And I just literally was yesterday reading letters from my brother a week before he died.
Wow.
Father,
That's wild.
Yeah, it's nice. So these things have a way of coming around, but I think Run is dedicated to him. There's a dedication to my brother Ross on there, and that's really
nice.
the overwhelming thing about it. There are a lot of male relationships referred to on the record, and in the Morrissey song, which is a Morrissey song, which Morrissey wrote. Right? He knows cool. I'd love to see him. It's my music, totally, but it's his song. But it suits that record so well because it's totally there. The thing about me and my brother.
I'll tell you something I've done primarily with my older son. He's almost 29, and I've been doing this for probably half his life. And in fact, I just sent one. I wrote one this morning. I've been sending him postcards his whole life, And now he lives, you know, he's got his own children. And I remember one time he was breaking up with a woman, and he called me over to his house and he said, Dad, I need you to take all these postcards you sent me, because I got this crazy bitch here and she's going to throw them out. And I didn't realize it. He had literally two massive boxes, and I felt so good.
No, that's nice.
I was I was so happy that we
can always keep these things. Yeah, it's really nice. It's been nice for my wife as well to hear my brother read my brother's authentic voice, because she never met him. You know, it's 40 years.
Oh, that's right.
2 years this year since he died. So, you know.
That's cool. Yeah, all that stuff stays with you.
That stuff's in the record. It's in there. It's part of me. Yeah. You
played all the instruments on there for the most part, right? Which is fantastic. What was the biggest challenge with that?
Well, I hate to say it, but it isn't a super big challenge for me, because I do a lot of that kind of work where I'm making an entire track for somebody, and that's my other hat, is a guy in a studio who can, you know, do film music or music for commercial or recreate a Phil Spector production for a TV show. I've done a lot of that sort of thing. So it's and a lot of it these days is just typing. Yeah. It's not necessarily, you know, the record is assembled. If you work on your own, it's assembled from an original guitar part, or a start with a drum program, or whatever it is. So so it's like that. So it's not a real big challenge. The real challenge for me was to complete the work. You know, make it a complete record, because you're busy and working, and when you're a working musician, in the way that I work, is that unless someone's paying me to do something, it's really hard to get up in the morning and say, right, I'm an artist now, and I'm going to spend, you know, the next 3 days working on this one track, because there are days and days, there's years of work in this record. Sure. And the years of work come in short bursts in between a lot of other activities. So it's not a conscious thing. Some of the tracks were started in 2007. Oh, wow. You know, they weren't revisited till 2012, and then I might have had another burst of activity a couple of years later. So they're like that. They're slow burning things where you might add something or take something away, or go back a year later and realize, hey, that work I did on this was shit, and I'm going to drop it all. And but this one magic overdub will really transform the thing. And a lot of it's like that. That's cool. When you work alone. Some of it's a little bit more rushed and a little bit more kind of, you know, well, I did it all in order to finish the thing. I made some new tracks that were completely made from scratch very recently. But a lot of them were, you know, like I say, long, slow burning, slow cooked things, which I tinkered with over a few years. Are you good with not like good is good enough? Because that's got to be a big challenge when you're producing yourself. Like, fuck, I can do it again. And you never really know that, and I don't know about that. I mean, I've had conversations with this about like with Thomas Dolby is a real Renaissance man in the studio. He's a real genius, you know, as close to a genius as I'll ever work with, and he. You can ask Thomas Dolby the question, is there anything on your records that you would do differently, you know, in retrospect? And he will answer you quite honestly, no. Right. The reason he'll answer you no is because he has the focus and the time, and he puts that energy into that product until it absolutely sounds like it does in his head. And now I'm not capable of that kind of laser-like focus or attention for that long. But having said that, I really like the record. I think that there's a certain part of the creative process when you're making a record as well, where you sort of have to let it go. You know, you have to sort of loosen your grip on it. Anything what you're doing, anything entrepreneurial. Well, absolutely. I mean, the ultimate sort of place where that gets you is like Brian Eno's idea, whereas you just set up a set of laws and you let them do themselves, and you just let all the control go. And I'm not like that. I mean, it's like it is very worked on this record. I have done lots of mixes. I've got endless, you know, versions of things and tried everything. And then even in the end, I was tweaking the mastering right up until the end and going back to the mastering engineer and saying, make that 1 dB louder. Can I remix this? And because I've overcooked the bass. And so I did tweak it a lot towards the end. I got very focused on the sound of it and everything. But, you know, a lot of it is performances that are quite real. They're quite sort of, they're not like really, really massaged. They are beginning to... No, I like that about it. It's not a perfect record. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It sounds like music. Yeah.
You know, and it
sound
made me
awkward,
feel something.
Real, yeah. If it makes you feel something, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And making your own thing is really hard to respond to because you're not always your own best critic, and it's really hard to know sometimes, you know. But so some of that record has vocals from, you know, a couple of months ago, and some of them has vocals from 8 years ago.
Oh my God, that's
which
wild.
I tried to date and then realized, no, the best thing was the first thing I did.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Talk about a couple of songs. Run, a beautiful title track, beautiful melody. The guitar sounded great. I was just curious, is that a Strat? It sounded like you're playing a Strat on there.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Sounded great.
It is, yeah, because I used a Strat on the original Tin Machine sessions.
Okay.
I think I was trying to just go back there and make something that was slightly reminiscent of that sound. You know? Yeah.
Great track. Any backstory to that song?
It's a song I wrote in about 1980 originally.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
With the riff to it. I mean, the song Run was co-written by David Bowie, so it didn't become called Run until Bowie picked it up and used it for the first Tin Machine album. But it was just something I was playing in the studio, and he heard me playing it, and said, "I like that. Can we do something with that?" Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I think it was originally called Babylon Bridge in 1980. It was a song called Babylon Bridge, which I wrote. You know, it was a very early attempt at writing a song like that. Yeah.
You have a song there with a funny name, Dog Ate My Gyro. That's a really pretty ballad. And in fact, I thought the vocals were very Morrissey-like. And you said, if he's not there, I guess you'll do, but I'm not sure that I trust you. So is that like about a breakup or?
No, it's not specifically about anything except possibly a relationship to religion.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah.
In other, it's something about. There's a line about God before that, isn't there? I pray the Lord my soul to keep.
Yes. Yeah.
There, I guess you'll do, but I'm not sure that I trust you.
Okay.
It's an ambivalence towards, you know, putting your trust in anything, really.
Yeah, no, I totally.
God or man. So it's I'm glad you like that record. The title is somewhat archly sort of humorous in a way, because My Dog Ate My Gyro was a thing we used to talk about in reference to self-indulgent, under-talented singer-songwriters who would get up at an open mic, and you know, so the kind of people whose the gyro was your welfare check.
Oh, okay.
Who would be steeped in their own misery and say, "My dog ate my gyro," kind of thing. And so that's what it is. So when at the end of the song I say, you know, time would overtake us and words would fail when my dog ate my gyro. So it's just the kind of, it's a private joke about that kind of songwriting, really.
It was a beautiful ballad. Really great acoustic guitar playing on it. I really enjoyed that.
And I love the full Brian Wilson ending as well, which I really did work on.
The whole thing. Well, you do a good job, and a comment here of you do a good job of building up chaos, sort of, and, you know, resolving the music sonically with like multiple layers of, you know, of sound. And I thought it was really enjoyable because of that.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks. What about chaos? I don't know whether I would say that my music could do more chaos.
Well, you know, I struggled with that word, but the reason I used chaos was, there's a lot. I didn't mean emotional chaos. Like there's a lot going on, and I could have chosen a better word. I didn't know what word, just because there's so much going on, and you have a way of just tying it all together. It's just my natural way of responding to sound. You know, that's all it is. I mean, I like to mix things and listen to music. I like to pick up a pair of these and have them come out of a pair of headphones and hold them a foot away from my face, you know, and so there's just this tiny sound coming out, and eventually, if music doesn't work like that, then it doesn't work for me. Okay, so that's like your litmus test.
Well, it has to connect in a way when you're hearing it through a blanket or through a wall in another room. You have to go something about it to go, what is that? You know, that's working. And so it's about that, and as far as all the detail that goes into a thing, again, it's not something it's just a natural way I work and I hear things. I don't know what to say about it.
That's really pretty, man. Couple more. Leukocytes of Love, man. I love that track.
Yeah.
Great guitars, great lyrics. What's a leukocyte of love? I know a leukocyte.
A leukocyte is a white blood cell, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like it fights off infection. So again, it's something about the biology, your your emotional attachment to people or your love thing, and what it has to do, the way it relates to your just primitive biology in a way.
Great song, man. And then just last one, Feel This Jones. Is that about getting sober?
No, Clean is about getting sober.
Are you guys gotten sober?
Am I? No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, I've never had in my life. I never would have had any phase in my life where I would have said I'm an addict of something and I need to give it up. I've always been a moderate. I can party, and I used to do that all the time. But I've never had a situation like lots of people say, yeah, I was a heroin addict for 10 years or something. Yeah. No, or I was an alcoholic and I've never been to rehab. I've never had an intervention. I've never had anything like that, So no, it wasn't specifically about that. Fearless Jones, I think again it was about relationship to being confident to make music in a way, just about how to feel that desire to do. I think there's a middle eight in that song. What are we for if we fail to desire?
Yeah. The reason over here when you're jonesing, that's often a I'm jonesing for like
that's an addiction hunger. It is an addiction word, and that's definitely a reference to that.
Okay,
but it's more addiction to music. That song is more about the addiction to making music than anything else.
Totally get it. Great record. I want everybody to go check it out. It's called Run by Kevin Armstrong. Where in England are you originally from? Are you from?
I'm from South London, a town called Orpington, which is just 15 miles south of the centre of London. So I'm a London guy, really.
Yeah. What was growing up for you like? What was your childhood like?
Very ordinary, suburban.
Okay.
Was a white collar worker, went to the office every day. My mum stayed at home and cleaned the house or did some little work in a local factory or something. And we went to, the local schools, and it was all quite a sheltered thing until I was 16 and I bailed out and ran away and lived in London.
So is that where because you got an edge, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's your character, that. Where'd you get that?
Don't know. I think again, losing my brother at an early age maybe was that. It's something about that because that shatters a whole family when a child dies like that, and there are four of us, and when the second eldest just dies out of that.
There's four children.
Yeah, there's four children, and then he died, and then my parents broke up just before then as well.
Oh so my God! So there was like tons of chaos there, man.
Well, it was chaos, but it wasn't. I can't say that I suffered, but what I did was bailed out, ran away. And as a middle teenager, I was living on my own. Living on my wits in London. From different squats and druggy scenes and different bands and things like that. So if I have an edge, it's only because I did live on the edge for 10 years in that time when you're reading Henry Miller and Jack Kerouac and kind of living and fucking 6 girls a week and when you're doing that stuff when you're age, that gives you that sort of with you, I guess.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I didn't mean that like, when I said you had an edge, I didn't mean that I'm attracted. I've got one, and I'm attracted to that.
Hopefully it makes you a more interesting person than somebody who went to college to study how to be a musician.
Yeah.
Which I did. I just learned because I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And because I had, because I saw people like Iggy Pop and thought that's an antidote to the kind of life that I'm expected to live. So I want to pop. I want to find out what that's about.
Speaking of edge, low points. Any low points in your life?
Yeah.
Darker periods.
Yeah, lots of low points. I mean, again, the humiliation thing about if you lose a big gig, and that's how you define yourself as a musician, who plays for big names or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a definite time. The first time I lost the Iggy gig. A roadie told me in a cafe some months after I'd last seen Iggy, that Iggy's doing a new album. You're not doing it, are you? What's all that about? And told me anything. And it was so, those moments in life do make you feel dark. Well, the moment I lost my deal with EMI overnight. One minute I had a burgeoning career as maybe a solo artist in the mid 80s. Next minute, boom, you're through a trapdoor and you're on the floor. So these are, yeah. And of course, the family things as well, loss of my brother or whatever. But those are dark things.
Yeah. What did you ever find out what happened with Iggy the first time around, or was it just nothing in just?
It wasn't nothing in particular. Yeah. I mean, I think I did burn. Like I say, I was being a bit of a prick, and I did probably burn out over that 2.5 year period. We toured really intensively. I mean, we were doing 100+ gigs a year. For a couple of years. It was really intense. Intense. And I was probably burning out, and things maybe back home weren't going so well, relationship, whatever. And so I think I was becoming a little bit unstable, and maybe that was the reason why I wasn't picked up for, further work. But then, what comes around goes around in such a magnificent way, because to get the call 20 years later to say, are you still playing? Would you like to come back and be his band leader? And then to have such an amazing time of that now, to feel really solid about it, and it's going really well is so great, because actually you do live for a long time with this situation of like, I wonder how I fucked up there and how I could have, if I'd only done that better.
I know that's a Chinese torture. That's
again. I would do everything differently, and now it comes around, and someone says to you, "Okay, then, do it differently."
Yeah,
and so that is great. Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about gear for a few minutes. What's your go-to guitar?
Well, my go-to guitar, I can show you.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of guitars laying out there.
This is never more than a few feet away from me.
Oh, wow. I did not expect you to pull out a Telecaster.
Didn't you?
No. So is that relic, or is that your wear and tear on
that's a 1954.
Holy crap, man. Wow. Holy shit, you got massive hands too. I didn't realize that.
Long, big hands.
Yeah, long, big fingers. That's amazing. That gets okay. So it's
I haven't touched that because I didn't take it to Australia, so I haven't touched it for about 5 weeks.
So wood, black face telly, 1950. The neck is so worn.
Yeah, it's so worn. See that? It's all
wow. That is amazing. When did you get that?
Well, I bought it for. You're going to hate me, but I bought it for $500. In a Lloyd Chi-8's Voltage Guitars in LA in about 1980. It was a spare guitar. I bought it on the first Iggy tour in 1986, I think, and it was in a box for several years, and I took it out one day, took it out of a box for a session, and realized, oh my God, this guitar's so good, and
how'd you get it so cheap, even in 86?
I mean, it was before, I think it's been stripped, so that's not the original color, is it? It looks like exactly like Springsteen's, right? But I think it must have been white or blue or something at the beginning, and it's had the finish hacked off it. But it's such a beautiful instrument. And instruments like that survive that long, it's because there was something good about them first place, and then they survive because people have cared for them. So it's very good. And I think at that time the vintage guitar market wasn't such a huge, inflated balloon that it is now. So $500, there you go. Yeah.
Original pickups there and everything?
No, it has had a rewind in the neck. Monty's pickups, which is an English guy who's really, really good, has rewound the neck. But the back one, I think maybe they've both been rewound at some point. So it's a player's guitar. It's not all original. It's not one of these mint things you find under your granddad's bed or something. It's been really lived in, but it still sounds so good. I don't take it with me now.
Oh no! What the hell? Why would you do that?
I've been taking it everywhere, and I will play it on Iggy gigs this year out abroad. But whenever it's a flying date, I don't take it.
Oh God!
Because now you can't carry it on a bag. You can't. I've been carrying it on a bag.
They make you check that now.
They now make you check it, or even if they don't, you never can tell now. They've changed the policy. So much so that I used to be able to rely on carrying it on, and I can't anymore. So I can't risk.
No.
Yeah. No. So I just bought a
regular
teacher would have, and I just use that
modern
for gigs now. But it's just perfectly good. It's exactly the same design, and it doesn't sound exactly the same, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
What would be our 2 and 3, number 2 and 3 for you?
And number 2 would definitely be, again, it's not rare, nothing rare about it, but it's a plain top Les Paul classic, early 2000s. And again, I put Seymour Duncan's in it, and I messed about with it, but it's really just a really nice sounding Les Paul.
I have that same guitar right there.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
I didn't like the ceramics, which you still got in it. I liked it when I put some humbuckers in it, which I like.
I like those. I just got some other pickups for it because they're really hot. The pickups in here, and I'm not. It's like
yeah. The better way you put some humbuckers in it, it'll sound a lot better. Believe me, some good buckets in it. Yeah. And then there's another,
SG.
Yeah, this was made for me by Gordon Smith.
Oh yes, I've heard a lot of British guys mention him.
Yeah, they're just a really nice brass nut. It's really stop bar.
Yeah,
and it's in tune. It's got a really slinky neck. I had them put a P90 in the front, a coil tapped humbucker in the back, so you get this really middle sound between the two coil tap, which is amazing. It's a lovely sound.
That's cool, man.
It's got a real demon in the back pickup too, with a humbucker. It's a really nice little metal guitar, sort of aggressive little guitar. I love it.
Very cool.
Great too. So I use those with Iggy.
And you're playing mostly through those Hampsteads.
That's what I've been doing for a while. I was a Black Star guy for a while, again because they supply everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But I got slightly bored with the sound of their artisan stuff.
The Black Star.
Yeah. It was okay, but I wanted something more, and the Hampsteads give me more.
In what, like, is that what I call the British Brown sound? That's, is that more, like old school Marshall Les Paul sound? Like what kind of?
What, the Hampsteads?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do that. They're not really high gain in a way. What they have is a beautiful core tone. I mean, it's just rich. And it's got lots of character. And every guitar you pick up sounds better through them somehow. They just got a really, really rich sound. It's really full. It's like a classic rock sound. It sounds like all my favorite albums. A lot of my favorite albums were like early Little Feat records and things like that. And they remind me of the sounds on that Paul Barrere's lovely rhythm sounds, and they remind me of that.
So a little spanky.
They're what?
Like spanky, like.
Oh, they're not really. No, they're not. They're richer than that. They're not like you can make them do a kind of twangy Fender thing slightly, but they are much more rounder than that. So there's something like, the warmth of Tweed amps and things like that, and something like Marshalls. But Marshalls have a graininess to them, which I never really was a huge fan of in some way. I have played through Marshalls that are really, really good, certain old ones, but they're very inconsistent. You can find one with a really good personality, or you can find others that just don't do it. But these Hampsteads have something really amazing about the character of them. It's just got a weight to it. If you're playing a clean sound, or if you put a pedal on it, they're so musical, amazing.
That's cool.
Love it. Yeah.
Name a couple of other guitar players you've jammed with that you've really enjoyed.
Neil McCall. He's the Kirsty McCall's brother and Ewan McCall's son and Peggy Seeger's son. We were in a band together with Sarah Jane Morris, who's a well-known British R&B kind of jazz singer. And Neil and I played guitar with her a lot, and I really enjoyed playing with him. We played a lot of different acoustic guitar things together, and slide guitar, and then two rock guitars. Anything we did together just worked. And I haven't had many relationships in bands with other guitarists closely like that. But Neil was a special one. Other ones, I don't know.
Did you get a lot of guests at Iggy shows, or not really? Other guitar players?
Well, no, we have Seamus, the other guy in the band. We go back to Blah 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 together, and he plays a mean rhythm guitar. He has a Gretsch Vox AC30s. He has a great sound, and he plays. But his speciality is Hammond organ and piano. He's a brilliant Hammond player and piano player. So he handles any keyboards for Iggy, and then he plays rhythm guitar. Okay. But I don't think of him something. I don't think of him as a guitarist in the way that I don't have a complete guitar language with him.
Yeah.
He does the job for Iggy really, really well. Don't get me wrong. He sounds fantastic, but it's his second instrument.
He's a utility. They call a utility player here.
I don't know. I would say he's better than that. He's got a real.
It doesn't mean that they're not good. It's just like the guy's doing everything. I totally get it. Yeah.
Where Seamus scores, his USP is his Hammond playing. You see him sit down at Hammond. And
his USP? Where did you get that marketing lingo from? Holy shit. Well, that's a first. I got to write this down. Marketing. Okay. A USP is a unique selling proposition for the people. Well, yeah, that was very impressive, man. Touche. Desert Island Discs. Top 3. Or I'll say Desert Island CDs, because I know in England when I say discs, they think singles. Here in the States, Desert Island Disc is CDs.
CDs. Well, top okay. There's a Little Feat bootleg called Electric Lycanthropy. It's a little recording of a Chicago club gig or something they did. And it's called Electric Lycanthropy. Look it up on YouTube. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I play that all the time.
That's cool. It's funny that guy from South England listens to Little Feat. It's not what I would be thinking,
I know. I like Bob Dylan's Rolling Thunder Review. These are both live records I'm interested to find out. But, Bob Dylan's Rolling Thunder Review stuff. The time when he's really high all the time and he's spitting out the lyrics and with no... his memory is like absolutely sharp. He's extraordinary, fantastic. When he's playing with Scarlett Rivera and Howard Wyeth and Mick Ronson sometimes, and that's really great. I don't know what else.
Did you ever play with Mick Ronson?
I never met him. No, I would have liked to have done. Yeah. You
ever play with Gary Moore?
Never played with Gary Moore. No. No, I haven't played with many other famous guitar players. Really, that's the thing. I've always been usually the only guitar player, or. So I haven't played many other famous players. So I don't know.
Give me a third record. Little Feat, Dylan.
God, really hard. Maybe Miles Davis Sketches of Spain.
Most important things you've learned about yourself throughout your career and life experience.
That I can survive.
Talk about a specific. Well, I guess you talked about that with your brother. Toughest decision you've had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do?
Well, I can't. I mean, there's things about my personal life which maybe if you're talking about career or music,
whatever you could answer that however you like, man, or not like.
There's an awful lot of personal stuff which is I don't think is of interest here particularly, but I once produced an album by a guy called Keziah Jones, and I had the budget, purse strings, given to me, and I got sort of 3/4 of the way through the budget before I realized the whole album wasn't working.
Oh, wow. It was just like a nightmare.
Musicians were the wrong choice. They were chosen by the artist and they were wrong, and we'd spent weeks in studio making the wrong fucking record, and I knew it was wrong. And it was the hardest thing ever to say at that point, because the music business is full of bullshit, and you can bullshit your way out of a situation and say, yeah, we'll finish the record, it's all be good, and everyone will go, well, it's not very good, is it? And no one cares. But I did lose a lot of sleep because I loved the guy, I loved his music, and we had a relationship from the beginning of his career, and I knew it was going wrong. And I had to phone up the head of the record company in France and say, I've spent all the money and the record's shit, and I've got to redesign it from the ground up, and and that it doesn't sound like a very hard thing, but it was really hard for me to do, because at that point it just seemed like a disaster. I just thought, fuck, I've wasted all these money. It was a lot of money, a lot of time. And he turned around and said, okay, yeah.
Well, no, I can understand it. If you were in that slot as a producer all the time and shit like that happened, I could see it wouldn't be a big deal. But here you are, you're producing. This is probably your first time they gave you a shit ton of money and all. Well, that's right. I could see it being extremely you have no frame of reference. That's normal.
Awake at night thinking, my God, I'm fucking it all up. And I've only ever produced a half dozen albums or something, but anyway, it worked out because we made a fantastic record. It's a record called Black Orpheus by Keziah Jones.
That's cool. And you guys are you still have a relationship with the guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
I don't
worked.
see him so often, but I was in his live band a few years ago.
Okay.
And toured with him, and he's a great guy, and we have a great time. He's great.
Very
We
cool.
worked with Russell Elevado, who mixed his albums, who does the D'Angelo records, and he's a Nigerian funk guy, Keziah Jones,
Very
a really
cool.
interesting songwriter. If you get a chance to listen to that record, Black Orpheus, by Keziah Jones, it's a really great record.
I'll send a letter to the record company. Hey man, I like the original record better. Why'd you scrap that original?
Yeah.
And Kevin, last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional and how much is just a matter of aging?
Well, I did practice Buddhism for 10 years. Right. And so I think I did a little bit of work during that time. And even though I don't anymore, I did go into that quite deeply. And I think I did come out of that with the firm conviction that you are responsible for all your actions and you're not a victim of anything and you can't blame anyone else for what happens to you. and those kind of things are very good things to have in your head, because then you can, whatever happens, you can sort of own it, and say,
you're not a victim.
Yeah.
Do you know Carl Orr?
Carl Orr, yes, I do. He was a Buddhist, right?
Yeah. He's a great guitar player.
Yeah, we met a few times. Yeah. Met a few times when I was doing Buddhism. I met him a few times because we did a few musical events, which I was heavily involved in with my background. I was driving. So we did a big gig with Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter and, stuff like that. And so I did meet Carl. Yeah.
Sweet guy.
Haven't
Real
seen him
nice guy.
for years, but yeah.
I had him on my show not very long ago. Really nice guy. Really. God, this is so nutty. I thought the guitar world in the U.S. was small. It's even smaller in.
Well, it's the music world, Craig.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really funny because a guy who comes out on tour with us sometimes with Iggy is Henry Rollins.
Oh,
right?
my God.
So Rollins has become a friend and he hangs out. He comes to see Iggy and he's an obsessive fanboy himself. He makes notes about everything. He notices everything. He's extraordinary. And he's got this. And when we start talking, we never stop about the people we know and the things because he's another of these people who's like Zelig. He's met everybody.
Yeah.
He's connected. They've been everywhere, and it's really funny when we get talking, because we do know so many people in common. Music is a small pool. You do end up, if you're around for a few decades, you get to meet everyone eventually.
Dude, I've been around for like 2 years and I feel like I've met. It's nutty as hell. It's really crazy. Kevin, first of all, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being so open. I want to tell everybody, and congratulations on the new record. It's freaking amazing. So let me tell everybody where to get it. It's Kevin Armstrong. The new record is called Run. Incredibly well-written songs, great melodies. The guitar work's great, but it's just a great record. It's not, you're not listening to that for Jeff Beck. It's a great record. Really, really well done songs, good lyrics. It's available on iTunes, Amazon, Bandcamp. It's also available on, if you want to buy it directly from Kevin, he will talk to you and sign it if you behave. And you could do that. Just go like his Facebook page at Kevin Armstrong Guitar X, and you can talk to him there. And if you want to buy it, he'll sign it for you. So hit him up there. And he is going to be touring with Iggy throughout Europe. And also sign up to his Facebook page because he'll be doing some dates to support the record. Again, it's called Run. And he's got you talk about your book, man, coming out.
Yeah, I'm most of the way finished with a memoir with some of the stories we've talked about today, but a lot more as well. And I'm hoping to do a digital edition with links to videos and all kinds of things.
Cool.
So that's going to be coming out hopefully towards the end of this year.
Very cool, man. Well, please come back on the show once the book comes out. We'll talk about it. That'll be fun. That'll be really
I'll
cool.
be happy to, Craig.
Hey, listen, thank you again for everything. I appreciate it, Kevin. Best of luck to you and good luck with Iggy. And thanks for sharing all your cool stories, man. And good luck with the record. Everybody buy the record or check out the record Run for sure. It's by Kevin Armstrong. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Kevin Armstrong for spending time with us. Again, friend him on it or like his Facebook page. It's Kevin Armstrong Guitar X, and give him a shout, and he'll send you a signed copy. You got to buy it, of course. Buy his CD called Run. It's a great record. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, they'll probably say something like this in the Buddhist meetings. Remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.